For 31 years, yes. Yeah.
That's good.
31. Well, for any of us to actually last in this business,
form.
right?
Yeah,
It doesn't have
that's
to be a
exactly
publication. It can be whatever.
That's right.
But
yeah.
but I'm such a fan, but I've never seen you live.
Really?
And maybe that's a Canadian thing. Maybe like what's the distance with
Sure.
Y&T and
Yeah.
playing North America, or not just
Unfortunately,
playing Canada.
not played a lot in Canada over our career. Yeah.
And is that
Only occasionally.
and whose fault is that?
Originally just, I guess, the agencies that we were with, or the tours that we happened to get on didn't come into Canada very often. I mean, we did with a few, but and then we tried ourselves and did a few tours through the States that also skirted into
Montreal,
Toronto.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
I think part of it because there's a couple of other bands that really should have made it, like a Uriah Heep, even Rat. CanCon bumped some bands that could have been played on the air, and I think Y&T is one of those bands that CanCon. It was let's play Y&T or let's play Bryan Adams.
Right. Oh yeah, of course.
That's just my guess.
You have to play Bryan Adams, of course.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow, everyone on the planet is going to go, where were you when Black Sabbath played their final show? And I get to say, I was in Sweden watching Y&T.
That's right.
Because it's going to be about the same time. You guys are on at like 6:37.
I know.
So what do you think about the spectacle and the longevity? And are you a fan? Are you a really big fan?
I was a big fan. I grew up listening to him. I mean, I know so many people have said that, but it is true. I mean, I was in high school listening to Black Sabbath constantly. In fact, I can remember in the Catholic high school that I went to, they didn't allow us to eat off campus for lunch, but me and a friend would sneak off a little bit and go into his car and crank the stereo while we were eating our lunch. And of course, it was almost always we'd have Black Sabbath on, as well as a few other people. But yeah, it was just the nature of things. I saw them live one time, I think just once. Yeah, in the 70s, I think.
Do you remember your first Sabbath moment, the first time you heard it?
I don't remember that, but because it's all sort of a blur, At that time, I was listening to anything that had heavy rock guitar sound to it. So it was as soon as it came on the planet to my awareness, it was an immediate thing. So yeah, I mean, I loved it, and I would every guitar player, you'd always play certain riffs of certain popular Black Sabbath songs. It's the norm.
Tell me about the beauty of playing an instrument and your lovely voice, and where did that? Because your voice, it's unbelievable.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm happy with it. Obviously, I mean, as people age, they can continually have more problems with their voices. I have not been one of those people, luckily. In fact, quite the opposite. It got better in my 40s than it was in the previous decades, and it stayed in good shape since then. So I'm happy with that. It's a major thing that I've always been working on, as far as making sure that I do the right thing for it on tour and otherwise. So I always try to make sure it's in good shape. And my guitar playing, I mean, I still to this day doodle, every day, I'll pick it up and play something or whatever. So, it's a love of the music, obviously, and my own personal pride kind of thing. I don't want to be a person that goes on stage in any form of Y&T over the years and has people say, "Oh man, this guy should give it up." If I really felt that I could not do a good job, I would absolutely pull myself from the stage. Yeah.
What do you think when you hear stories like Don Dokken, where health really has caused him to shut everything down? And your health, how have you kept it up? You must have a pretty.
I'm not the picture of the guy that jogs every day or something, but I definitely keep up exercise, and I mean, it's something that I try to get my steps in every day, and whether I'm on a trail and doing it purposefully, or if I'm just walking around a town or whatever it is, I have to keep exercising and I have to keep going, and I try to eat right. That's something that as right as I can. I obviously being an Italian guy who loves Italian food, I have a lot of pasta and pizza and things like that. But I generally eat well. So those are the things that I keep up on. It seems to be working at the moment. I mean, I had a bout of prostate cancer that I went through for a couple of years, and had the treatments, got rid of it.
Yeah.
So that was here and gone. That was years ago. So, well, not that many years ago, but a couple of years ago since I've been pronounced to not have it any longer. So
you're clean?
Yeah. Have been for a couple of years. Yeah.
How about creatively and releasing new music and writing? You must just have storage lockers filled with riffs and songs. And do we release a record? Do we release a single? Do we just not release anything?
Yeah, it's been a bone of contention for me, and a lot of people have asked that question. So, when's that new record coming out? And I, just say I don't know. And it's all not because I don't want to be more creative and want to get new stuff out there. I guess I've just gotten to this point where, at current point, I'm a nomad. Okay, I don't have a house somewhere anymore. I sold my house recently, and myself and my wife are nomads. We're staying a month in each city that we are considering as a place to stay, and so that doesn't exactly give me the perfect situation where when I had a house, I had a home studio, and it was a little more easy to just sit in there and spend months at a time coming up with new stuff and recording it and things like that. So I'm a bit more scattered than maybe I would be in a year from now or so, but I can't completely blame it on that. I've been my own worst enemy when it comes to coming up with new material. So,
but that's a beautiful freedom to be able to spend. That would be my dream gig. Yeah. Spend like a month in Copenhagen or wherever.
Right, and it actually has been. And in fact, some of my friends have just recently asked me and said, "So, have you figured out a place where you're going to, call home?" And I say, "No, not yet." But neither my wife or I are tired of being nomads at the moment. It's a fairly new thing for us. Besides being, a musician, of course, you're already a nomad. You're already always playing out and touring in different places. But at the moment, we're enjoying the possibilities of checking these different places and trying to figure out where we're going to land. With the majority of the time. But of course, I'm still a touring musician, so that means I'm going to be in the U.S. 3.5 to 4 months every year touring there, in Europe for maybe a month and a half or so each year touring there, and go to Japan every other year, and so many other things that we've been doing, festivals here and there. So. There's no place that I could say that I'm going to be in 12 months out of a year.
But it wasn't just a home. There was a farm and wine, and there was a lot more going on than
not a farm, no. But we outsourced our wine. We bought the grapes from the farmers.
Okay.
And we would hand pick the grapes for the different types of varietals that we were into. For Pinot Noir, I knew exactly where I wanted to go, and for Chardonnay, the same thing, and for all these different varietals that we had for a while. And so we didn't spend the extreme amount of money of actually having our own vineyards. We would outsource from the vineyards that we loved, that other people were using their grapes for as well. And we became one of those people that would say, yeah, we're proud to say that we have this particular grape from this vineyard that we use for our Pinots and so on and so forth. So, yeah, but we gave up on that on 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of self-reflection amongst most people, and ourselves included. We had just literally gotten off the road. In fact, we had to cut short the U.S. tour by 3 shows because the pandemic shut everything down.
Mm-hmm.
But we had gotten almost all the way around and done, like 30 shows or something around the country. So we had gotten that in, and now all of a sudden we're shut down for who knew how long, of course. And so we had that time to consider things. And the wine industry, as much as we loved being a part of it, my God, it's a money drainer. It is just so expensive to keep that going. And so, at that point we made that decision to say, okay, we had 8 years in it. It was a great time, and we came up with some great stuff, and had a lot of fun behind it. But we just can't afford to keep going on with that. So we cut it short. But as far as the house goes, I had built a recording studio, a legitimate recording studio, out the back of the house, and that served as a place for recording a couple of Y&T records, and it was our rehearsal space. It was a creative outlet for me as well, and that was tough to give up.
That was your 5150.
Yeah, exactly. And that was probably the hardest part to give up of the whole thing. I mean, we had that house for 39 years. That was it. I mean, and it was a perfect place for us. It was in a cul-de-sac at the end of the court, and with a nice private backyard that was very large, and the whole thing of it was perfect. And it was just down the street from all the tech companies. I mean, you could walk to the spaceship campus of Apple and all this kind of stuff. So it was embedded in all of the goings on with Silicon Valley and everything. And it was, we didn't know that when we bought the house, because Silicon Valley wasn't necessarily a thing. It was just starting. So we kind of lucked out in that way, because obviously it allowed us to sell the house without having to worry about, are we going to be under, not after 39 years. So it was fine. So yeah, that was good. But now it's a new chapter for me and my wife. We're traveling all over the place, trying to figure out exactly where we're going to land.
Now, if you don't have a house, and where's all the wine and tea collection? And did you collect? Do you have everything? Are you like Lars Ulrich with this big fucking warehouse of all the Metallica stuff?
Well, see, now there came in a thing that we had to deal with, that certainly I had to deal with personally, and that was, do I need all this stuff? And so what I literally did is I went through bin after bin after bin after bin of all the Y&T memorabilia that I had. And I just thought, you know what, this is really cool. I'll take a photo of it and I'll have it digitally, but I'm not going to store this stuff. It's a part of my past. I'll have it there forever in my mind, and now I'll have it, a picture of it at least, or something like that. And for certain things like old stage clothes that I wore and things like that, I thought, you know what? I bet some fans out there would love to have stuff like this. So I just put it up on an auction and just let the fans pick the price. Most of it I underbid like a crazy. Here, take this outfit from Summertime Girls, $40, or whatever,
right.
and let just somebody, if they wanted to, spend $40, I'll sell it to them. If they want to spend more, whatever. But and it was really fun. Actually, it was a fun experience. I got rid of all my old gear for the most part. I mean, I kept, some of my amplifiers and cabinets and all my guitars and everything. But for the most part, I upended my life when it came to that stuff. Yeah. I no longer own stuff. Everything that I own is either with me, plus maybe another 2 or 3 times that, that's sitting in a storage building, that some of it's for wintertime, it's mostly clothing, and there are some studio things. I still kept some of the most important parts of my studio, just little bits and pieces that I could start a new studio again pretty easily, once I find a place to go. But for the most part, I sold off, gave away, or donated 95% of everything I own.
Wow.
My stereo, my everything. I mean, you just have no idea. It's the weirdest feeling, and it's very, very good for the soul in some ways to sort of like just be clean of everything, I mean, I think some people would just absolutely say the opposite and say, oh my God, I want every last thing that I've ever done, and I want it there, and I want to be able to show it to some. And I'm thinking, who am I going to show this to? I don't have any kids, I know what I went through, and all these things that are amazing for me that I can look back on, I'm going to document them. I'm going to take a picture of them, and they're in the cloud. So, there you have it.
Well, I'm the same, but not the same, because I will never have kids. I don't have any. And the BraveWords collection, because I've been in retail, radio, publishing, is almost 1 million pieces.
Right.
Seriously, I've got 400,000
Well, you
CDs.
should keep at least one of every one of them,
Well,
something like that.
But I want to do some kind of a museum thing and just give it all to charity. Seriously, I do.
Yeah.
So I run around and get autographs, and it just goes into this. And there's so much history. And nowadays, when, aside from the whole vinyl craze, there's nothing, I don't get sent 8.5 by 11s, I don't get sent bios, but I've kept all of them, for 35, 40 years. It's pretty crazy.
That is great.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was tough too. I got rid of 90% of my vinyl collection. I kept at least one or two of every Y&T record, and I kept some of the vinyl, masters, sort of, you could say. But I auctioned off a bunch of them and literally gave away my entire vinyl collection. I mean, I had these people that were local retailers of vinyl albums come in and take away, I would say, probably 1,500 albums, 2,000 albums, something like that. Yeah. There you go. They're yours,
Wow.
And
it's a lottery win for someone.
It really, yeah. But I mean, it also felt good to do some of that stuff. I mean, I had so much gear from the recording studio and everything, and the bigger pieces I either sold them off or whatever. But most of the stuff I found local places that teach to kids, music stores, stuff like that, and I just donated them.
Yeah.
Donated everything.
Nice.
I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and the people were so happy and so appreciative, and that meant more to me than anything. Is that at least somebody's using what I used to have as my own. Yeah.
You mentioned Summertime Girls. Tell me about, it was the videos as a little kid, but I'm watching much music. That's how I found out about bands like Venom and Y&T or whatever.
Sure.
Do you miss that era? Do you have a lot of fond memories filming?
Great memories. I mean, the 80s were I mean, as everybody knows, for a band like us, 70s and 80s were tops. 70s totally different, but the 80s, I'd say that was when everything was coming to the top, and it was amazing. It was an amazing time. It was also kind of a stressful time being in the business because everybody was competing against each other, of course.
Right.
And record companies are, if nothing else, extremely good at trying to game everybody that they've got on their roster to game them against other bands and say, why don't you give us a song like this band and this kind of thing,
right?
Which is always hell. Every band out there was getting, not every band, but a lot of bands were getting that kind of, constant, hitting over the head with that whole thing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't fun. And we did our best to resist the pressure and just do what we thought was best and write the songs that we thought was the best for our band, and keep saying, this is going to work. This is great. This is going to work. You know, we've got the material. And, you know, there's always a push and shove when it came to being in the business that was, you know, really doing well at that time. Of course, it's just the nature of music in general, in the entertainment business. Period. Is you're always fighting the big wigs for what you perceive as art and what they perceive as marketable. So, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have control, access? Are you seeing income from the whole Y&T catalog, or is it a bunch of lawyers trying to do the reissues, box sets, or do you just like, I'm done with this bullshit?
Yeah. No. Well, let's put it this way. I receive royalties, so it's a beautiful thing, believe me, because at times, you know, every musician gets hit against the wall, you know, when, especially during the pandemic, when you can't tour for all of a sudden, for maybe only could play a couple of shows a year for you know, until it all started to open up again, or none at all. Very thankful that I still had royalties coming in to help out, but that's something that you know, is an ongoing thing, obviously, and it's helpful for me. It's not over the top money, but it's just, you know, I've been very thankful that I was one of the principal songwriters, and you know, that of course meant that I would get royalties for, you know, the songwriting portion of everything that I've written, and so that's good. It's a good thing. I mean, you know, had we been wildly successful and sold multi-millions of records every release, I can only imagine what the, you know, principal songwriters of those records, they must be doing really well,
Right.
you know, which is good for them. But it's a different thing too, because now your royalties are mostly coming from streaming, which is, of course, a totally different amount of money per, you know, what you used to get. You know.
Let's have a little fun. I call it the BraveWords Rapid Fire questions.
Oh boy. Okay.
These are easy, left field.
Okay. All right.
Things like the moment that you decided that music was going to be your life path, and did you have parental support, or did your parents say,
"Oh, that's easy.
No way. You need to be a lawyer or a doctor. You're not going to be a rock star."
Yeah, it was the second. My parents did not want me to be a musician. So I was not only fighting girlfriends and friends, and I was definitely fighting my family. And they wanted me to be, you know, an engineer or something else, you know, all of the above that you had mentioned, right? But for me, there was only one thing, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do before I got out of high school. I knew that I wanted to be a musician, and that I knew that I had a passion for it. So nobody was going to tell me otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. And eventually, I will say that they came around. I mean, I tell this one story that my parents had never even seen me play live until after I had 4 records out.
Wow.
They still thought I was playing like backyard parties or something, you know, even though we were touring around everywhere. And so they went to see me at a show at Winterland Arena in San Francisco, and it was Journey and Y&T, and it was sold out, and they had the screens, you know, and everything showing, you know, up close each person on the stage, and my parents were out in the audience, and they're looking at the people, and they're seeing their reaction to me and to the band, and they're seeing me up on the stage and the whole thing, and they're seeing people shout my name and stuff in the audience, and they're like, it blew their mind. They had no idea, and I was like, see, I'm actually doing something. You know, this is working. You know, quit telling me to get a job. Yeah. And you know, it mellowed it out for a little bit. It was still kind of, you know, touch and go there with them for a while, but eventually they became. You know, my dad became my biggest fan. I think he would come to the shows and everything, and he loved the experience of hanging out with the fans and everything. And
nice.
it was cool.
Who's your rock star or metal god?
Well, that's a tough one. It changes from decade to decade, year to year. When I first started out, it was Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix was the god for me. When I was getting into playing electric guitar, that was inspirational, so much so for me. And in my bedroom, I always at least prided myself on having some sort of little stereo rig or something, even if it's just literally a transistor radio. I would have that hooked up to a little 3-inch reel-to-reel deck, and if I heard something new on the radio, I'd just record it for a second to find out, who was that band, and I could go buy the record, and So, but like I said, from the beginning, it was Hendrix. I actually saw him twice live.
Shut up.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Some people freak out when I tell them.
Don't disrespect.
No. It's true. I saw him in 1969. I think it was Berkeley Community Theater. And in fact, they came out with a movie called Jimmy at Berkeley, I think, like many years later. And I was at one of those two shows because they played two shows in one night. And I wasn't the first one of the two. And then I saw him at the Oakland Coliseum. And their opening act was the first time on the road for the Chicago Transit Authority.
Wow.
So it was Terry Kath playing guitar for Chicago,
yeah.
and he was amazing. Yeah, that was so cool. So those were the two times I saw him, and embedded in that brain.
Have you ever asked for an autograph?
From
anyone?
Yeah, no, never have. Only because as I became more attuned to what it was like to being a semi-celebrity or whatever, as people would come up to ask for autographs from me, I didn't really care about the autograph part. I just wanted to shake a person's hand and just tell them,
right,
how much they meant to me as a musician or just as a person that loves music. And I did that with probably a couple of different people I didn't expect to see over my lifetime, and meet in person. And one in particular that I was too shy to do it the two times I was around him, and that was Jeff Beck. And I was standing literally behind Jeff Beck one time at what they used to call Day on the Greens in Oakland. Mm-hmm. And it was a big festival day, just one day,
Metallica played.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we played one of those, and Metallica was one of the opening acts actually back then. But this was one where I think Journey was one of the headliners or something. Because I said Journey a couple times because Journey and Y&T were first managed by the same manager when they were first starting out and when we were first starting out. So we played lots of shows together and became friends with those guys. So we went to the show and I was watching them from backstage, and Jeff Beck was right in front of me, and I was literally looking at his fingers because he had his hands behind his back, and I'm like going, wow, look at those are Jeff's fingers, look at those short, they're stubby, but they look powerful. But I could not go up and say anything to him. I was too afraid. And then years later, we did this thing where we played at what was a celebrity theater, they call it. It's a theater in the Round in Anaheim for the NAMM show. And Jeff Beck was backstage, and I could not go up to him. For some reason, that guy just freaked me out so much because I was such a fan that I couldn't do it, and but the other people that I have over the years, it's generally because we've met them at a concert or something like that, and I'll just shake their hand and tell them, I love your playing, or you've been an influence, or whatever, what most people say, as a fan. But I've been lucky enough to play with a lot of the people that I really have a lot of respect for. Ronnie James Dio, we did a tour with them in 1983 that to me was it was a real
Must have been the Holy
privilege.
Diver.
Yes, it was a real privilege. We were on Mean Streak record, they were on that record, and it was just the two of us playing shows together for about 3 weeks. It was a short tour that we were on, but it was awesome. It was so awesome to be right next to Ronnie all the time. We did a couple of times we would go to radio stations together to do interviews, for the local shows we were playing and things like that. And I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but just being on stage with such a legend, and in fact coming in the very first time, the very first of the show of the tour, walking into the venue and they were doing a sound check and hearing that voice of God coming out of the PA system and looking up at Ronnie, and I'm just going, oh my God, it's just so amazing, the voice that guy had. And then many years later becoming sort of a friend, I guess you could say, somebody that I would see on rare occasions, but when we did, it was always like a hug and a half an hour conversation or something. He was just a sweetheart of a guy, an amazing talent.
Do you mind if I ask for your autograph?
Oh, of course not.
Are you sure? I get a kick out of showing my collection to people because a lot of bands don't keep it. They give it away, or they've never seen it before. So let's see if I can surprise you. Actually, there's one thing, because I have 100 of these.
Oh, right. Yeah, the 10
So how often do you see
I'm sorry, Contagious, yeah.
How often do you see the long boxes?
I do not see the long boxes almost ever. So you're right. You've given me something different. Yeah.
I've kept them all. Pick your
right.
poison.
Okay. Well, on this one, I think I'll do black. That is cool. You kept the long box.
Yeah, it's strange. I'm a big death and thrash metal fan, so
right,
I
cool.
have the first 4 Slayer long boxes.
Wow.
And Carrie and Dave signed them.
Oh, cool. So you had a chance to do an interview with them and everything?
I've interviewed almost everyone. Like
Yeah.
Dio, Halford, like
Awesome.
you name it.
Awesome.
Angus, Malcolm, like just Ozzy.
Yep. And of course, we played with most of those people. Certainly Ozzy. We did a whole European tour with him. And that was one thing that I was thinking of, when you were talking about, did you realize that tomorrow when you're on stage, that's the final show, and I was thinking, Ozzy for me was, again, a guy that was a real sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
And, at the time that we toured with him, he still had that reputation. Oh, he's a crazy man, and he's this and that. Well, yeah, I'm sure he'd get out there once in a while or whatever, but he's just a sweetheart of a guy. He was so kind to us, and the whole time that we toured together, it was a true pleasure.
These are actually flipped around, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I can say that I've had a charmed life to have met and played with these guys over the years. So AC/DC as well. We did a whole tour of Europe and the UK with them. 2 months we spent together, just the two bands, and that was fantastic. Probably one of my favorite tours we ever did.
What do you think about the vinyl craze, and what was your first vinyl, if you can remember?
Yes, I do, actually. The very first vinyl, which is kind of an interesting choice, considering that our first major record label that we were on was A&M Records, which was Alpert and Moss. The first album that I bought with my own money was Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
Yeah, okay.
It was Whipped Cream and Other Delights.
I love the fact that you know a lot of people don't know what A&M stands for.
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely did. In fact, I had at least seen Herb on the lot at A&M a couple of times. Yeah. So it was fun. But and then I think the next one that I bought was Iron Butterfly, Inagata Devita. I think that was probably the second album that I bought.
Is there a band that you've seen live that just blew your mind and you thought to yourself, I need to be at least this good or better than these guys?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of guys out there that I see that blow my mind still to this day. I mean, there's so many of them, man. Jesus. It's hard for me to even, put it all down to just a few. Let me think on that.
Okay.
I mean, nowadays, of course, you go on YouTube and you see 8-year-old kids that play guitar better than almost anybody that I know that's out there playing, you know.
Yeah, right,
and it's just
right.
and I think about that and I go, this is a side, you know, thought, but I was just thinking, well, when these guys first pick up their instruments, what is their bass line that they've got to come up to? Well, their bass line that they have to come up to are all these shredders.
Right.
You know, when my bass line was like blues rock guitar players like Jimmy Page or something like that,
right.
You know, it was a totally different thing. You know, you're going to start trying to get to that level, and these other kids are getting to a level that's so far beyond that technically, you know, as a musician. So it's interesting to see that, you know, develop with a lot of young kids up there that are just putting amazing stuff down.
I just finished reading Gary Holt's book, and there's a riff master right there, but he didn't pick up the guitar, he said, until he was 17.
Yeah, I was 16. Yeah.
Do you think that's late?
Well, people used to tell me that 16 was late to pick up a guitar, so I'm going to say, yeah, that's probably late. By most standards, I think it was thought that you would pick up an instrument that you would excel in when you were preteen, you know, something like that. But it wasn't for me because, you know, for numerous reasons, but my one being that my parents were not into it. So I had to take my paper route money to buy a cheap Fender Strat knockoff, you know, as my first guitar. And my dad was not into me having lessons because he thought that I was going to waste my money and time by taking lessons, because it was just going to only be like a year and then I'd give it up or something.
Right.
I made him eat his words.
I'm addicted to music bios. Do you read a lot of about musicians and their careers? Are you?
I have at times. I mean, I can't say that I've been obsessed with anything like that. Every once in a while, somebody will tell me, or one of the band members, in fact, will say, "Hey, man, did you see Chicago's, you know, bio video thing that they've got out, or did you see this one or that one?" And then I will check it out. And so yeah, I've seen probably about 7,
Yeah,
not a lot, you know, but ones that, you know, I get off on them. They're awesome. You know, when you have a chance to have somebody document your career and your life and do it well, where you feel like after you've watched it, like, that's probably the way it really was. You know, that's a cool thing to watch. I mean, they did a decent job of doing the bio. I mean, the documentary for us. 2 guys that were just local guys that had really never done anything like that before, but they worked a long time on it and did a really good job at the end of the day. So I'm proud of that.
What do you think when a fan like me that's followed your career, like you touch hearts from around the world?
It's an amazing thing. I mean, like I said, I think in some ways, though it's been, you know, any entertainer's life is not a walk in the park, you know, generally. Certainly not if you started out in the 70s or something like that.
Right.
It's not the same as it is now, but it's generally it's an amazing amount of work and sacrifice. But if you've done the due diligence and stuck with it and tried to be true to yourself, it's unbelievable. I mean, the fact that I can play a concert for thousands of people in Germany or Japan or Spain or the Netherlands or the UK or, you know, any place in any number of places in the US, Japan, so on and so forth, and have these adoring fans 51 years into it. You know, I mean, I feel so good about that. I mean, how can you not be proud of something like that? And even though my fellow original members have all passed away, except for me, I feel like we've done an amazing job at keeping the heart and soul of the band going.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I've got an advantage to being the one original member. I'm the lead vocalist and the lead guitar player and one of the principal songwriters. So it's kind of like you've got, well, if the guitar player goes or if the singer goes, it's never the same. Well, you got the same guy in one to some degree. So I mean, I don't do it all, but it's at least when you come and see a Y&T show, even in 2025, you can be assured that it's going to sound like what you expect it to sound like, hopefully. So.
Thank you so much for signing this stuff, dude.
Sure.
This is amazing. Wow.
It's my pleasure. I'm just amazed that you've got everything that I've ever had done here.
Well, and I've actually shopped at your store, like your online store, to get some of these not weird, but no, just interesting pieces. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to look back every once in a while and remember my buddies, There was something that Joey said on our documentary, and I can't eloquently remember it word for word, but I can just say that when the last original member of the other three guys had passed away, and I knew I was the only guy left, it was a really strange feeling for me. I mean, it had always been an awful thing to see any of these guys pass away in my lifetime, but when it was the last guy to go, and now I'm the last man standing. It really hit me hard, and I thought about, it's more than just being the last man standing. It's also all these years that we started out in 1974, and all of those experiences that we had together, growing together, all the tough times, the great times, all the little goofy little stories that we had. I've got nobody else to recollect that with and go, yeah, I remember that, slap five. Yeah. It's a very strange feeling. It's like you outlived everybody that had these experiences with you. That some of them are still living, that were crew guys that were there for some of it, but for the whole span of time, working up to maybe the mid 80s, when we eventually replaced our drummers, Leonard, and so on and so forth, when things started to change. There's nobody left to sit around and do reminiscent, kind of hours together, and, clink some glasses together and go, oh man, remember that? It's like,
that's touching, dude. That really is.
Yeah, it's a trip. It's not something you ever think about, until it becomes a reality in your life, and it's the same for anybody that has family members that, no longer with them, and they have that same thing. It's like, oh man.
Do you see that very often?
Oh, very, very few times. Yeah, this is cool.
Castle, right?
It's amazing. Anthology. Castle Communications. Wow. You got the stuff, man. I got to get it.
No, I was going to ask you, the super fans that overwhelm you, seen many over time that have like 1,000 Y&T things, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have super fans that I meet every year that we go anywhere. If we come again to the Netherlands or whatever country, whatever city, that kind of thing, we're always going to see some of these super fans again. And there are some people, since we're from the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, we have these amazing fans that will come out, and they'll be at every single show, still to this day. Yeah. They'll come to every show, and they'll travel. they'll come and see us if we play in Japan. They'll come and see maybe 1 or 2 shows when we're on a European tour or something like that. It's so cool. It's so cool to see, and we'll see that in vice versa too. So when we play these shows that are very popular in the States at the Mystic Theater or certain other shows, where certain super fans from other countries will fly in to see the show. So
Nice.
it's always cool. It feels like an extended family. It really is an extended family. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, in the best sense.
Dude, thank you so much.
Yes.
Jill said 30 minutes, and I got a bonus 15.
Ah,
So
no, I don't.